Stone Tropic Thunder Lager.
Life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got one from the Stone Brewery from the United States. Now, they are quite a good brewery. Arguably the originators of the West Coast IPA style. They brew some quite decent beer. Now, if you can see the back, the flag at the back with the arrogant bastard. Hang on, let me move this camera around. See that? Right, that's one of their beers. I like that beer so much. What's that fella, the Remington fella? I liked it so much I bought the company. Victor Kiam. I'm the Victor Kiam of the beer world. I liked it so much I bought the flag. But I did. It was a really nice beer, and ever since that, I have been trying their beers and they've been quite nice. They do some, don't get me wrong, they're a little bit hit and miss. They do some stuff that it's just too bitter for me. But if you're into that West Coast style, then these are the people to go to. They really are good at what they do. But they've also got an offshoot company, the Arrogant Bastard stuff, and they've done I think it's a Metallica Pilsner. Is it Enter Night? I've not tried that. I'm always wary of these bands that are pumping out beer and all that, or are sponsored a beer, but I think Iron Maiden have put me off that. The Motorhead stuff, it's so-so. It's not great, but it's so-so. I like what these do though. They are a true craft brewer, and they're not like fucking Brewdog. And what really annoys me is they try to open up a craft beer pub in Berlin. Now, I would have advised against that. It didn't work out. They had to close it down. That really, it didn't upset me, but I was disappointed for them. I felt bad for them because the intentions were good, but I just thought, if you're going to open up a craft beer place, don't do it in Germany. The beer's already good there, you know. But they had to sell it, and who took it over? Brewdog took it over. And you know, I don't hope they crash and burn, but I hope they crash and burn. No, I don't. I hate to see any breweries going bust, but it just didn't work out for them. They're still big, and they're so big, they've got a slush fund for struggling craft brewers, which, you know, they'll help out craft brewers, which is fucking more than Brewdog do. Brewdog just want your money. Anyway, rant over about Brewdog. Let's get onto this beer. It is a lager from Stone Brewer. Now, I'm just looking at the back. I've just turned this can round. It's 5.8%, and it is a 355ml can, so it's slightly bigger than your 330. That is an Imperial half pint. On the back it says Mainstays Citra Mosaic along with the newcomer Cashmere. I'll get onto that in a second. Hops are joined by their juicy tropical aromas of citrus, pineapple and coconut. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a bit of a lager purist, and when I see stuff like that in lagers, I just think, why are you doing that? But they're doing it, and yeah, that's what you've got. What else has it got? It's just got all, water, malted barley, hops, yeast, best before, blah blah blah. Here is the front of the can. There you go. The hops, Citra, Mosaic, Cashmere. Citra Mosaic, don't really need an introduction. Very citrusy, very mainstream. Citra, of course, it's the go-to, and Mosaic, I think every decent American-style pale ale has got Mosaic in it. Cashmere is quite a new one, though. That is an offshoot of Cascade. and it's got some quite interesting flavours. It's got melon, lime, it's got some herbal notes on there as well. So it'd be interesting to see whether this comes out in here. I'm just a little bit wary about what they've done to this though. It's supposed to be a lager. Now lager's supposed to be clean drinking, easy drinking. Don't know whether it is or not. Let's find out. Right, let's get this open. I'm not sure whether this is going to fit into this glass because I don't think this... Oh, look at that head. It says, God, this smells like a pale ale. And that glass is disgustingly dirty. Look at that. That is fucking disgusting. A lot of carbonation in this, slightly hazy. You seen it? Not massively, but there is a haze to it. We're getting on the nose. It's very citrusy and fruity. Doesn't smell like a lager at all. Cloudwater do this as well. It does wind me up. Lager is not supposed to have this citrus and, you know, these tropical fruit flavours. It was never designed for that. And you got these, I don't know, trying to improve it. Just call it a fucking pale ale. Now that's, I'll say it's put me in a bad mood, but it annoys me when they're trying to bastardise. I know I'm all for experimentation, but when you're crossing that boundary and you just think, why don't they just call it a bottom fermented pale ale? You know, break some ground there and call it a lager. Anyway, let's stop moaning, let's get it down the hatch. Cheers. And it's as I thought. They've called it a lager, but it's just like an American pale ale. There's just so much citrus going on in that. So maybe I should just forget they've called it a lager. Let's take it on the premise that this is a pale ale, because that's what it tastes like. There's no way that this is a lager. Your average lager drinker, if I give them this, they would just, you know, either spit it out or tell me it's disgusting. Right. First thing, you're getting that bitter lime, grapefruit, pine type flavour, which is probably coming from the Citra and a combination of the Mosaic hops. That's what I'm getting. So immediately that says to me American pale ale. There's a reasonably malty finish on it, but it is there. I'm not, you know, I'm not denying, but it's just been overshadowed by these citrusy flavours. And it has got that grapefruit on there, which is, it's not a lager at all, in my opinion. It's, they should have called this a bottom fermented pale ale, because it's what Stone Brewing do. They are renowned for their big, citrusy, hoppy beers. And I think what they've done with this one is they've just produced a beer that is bottom fermented. They've called it a lager, which technically it is. But they've thrown a load of these citrusy hops, a combination of citrusy hops with the Citra and Mosaic. Mosaic you don't normally see, well, you wouldn't see in lager, not in any European lager. I don't know why they've done it, to be honest. If they'd have called it an easy drinking pale ale, I think that's what they should have done, because it looks like a lager but it doesn't taste like a lager. Having said that, it's a reasonably good American pale ale, and it's got everything you would expect from an American pale ale. It's got the citrus, it's got the, the grapefruit, the bitter lime, the melon that's on there, but it has got quite a malty finish, which does sort of make it a little bit unique on that score. But I had half an idea when I saw what was going into this, and it's from Stone as well. Now, I quite like what they do when it comes to IPAs, American style IPAs. They're pretty good. I love the artwork, I love the ethics of this brewery. There's a documentary about them, worth watching. They've got some very good ethics, completely different to Brewdog, and it's a shame that these have failed in Europe, where Brewdog have succeeded, I suppose. Brewdog will go to America and be successful, which is, no pun intended, a bitter irony. Anyway, on its own strength, this isn't a bad beer. I wouldn't class it as a lager. It's basically what Cloudwater did with their Pilsner, which set me off into rant mode. And I don't know, maybe it's what's going to happen in the future. All lager, well, certainly not in Germany, hopefully, but everywhere else they're just going to throw loads of citrusy hops in, which I think, why do you do it? Just brew a lager to be a lager. I'm all for experimentation, but this takes it into the realms of another style of beer, which doesn't need to be, doesn't need to be done. Call it an easy drinking pale ale, high ABV, what would you call that? I don't know, what's a wolf in sheep's clothing pale ale, very easy drinking, but 5.8%. There you go. If they had done that, I'd have said fucking brilliant, because this is not a bad beer, but it's not a lager. Don't expect to get a lager, even when you put it up to your nose. There is nothing about this. If, in a blindfold test, I'd say this is American pale ale, or possibly a cross between a West Coast and a New England IPA. More so a New England. So what's the verdict on Stone Tropic Thunder Lager? It's not a lager. It just doesn't taste like a lager that I know and love. This is a good attempt at what I perceive to be an American pale ale. It's very drinkable, and it's got some nice citrus flavours. If you go back on the sort of, or you ignore the premise that this is a lager, for all intents and purposes, this is not a bad beer. It's plenty of citrus, plenty of the grapefruit bitterness, nice malty finish on the end of it, but that is not a lager. That's not any type of lager that I know and love. So I'm going to knock marks off for the description, because it's not what it says, but on its own merits, that is not a bad beer. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to recommend it if you like American pale ale, and I like Stone, so I'm not going to be too hard on him. I prefer this lot to Brewdog, and am I going to recommend it? As I say, if you like American pale ale, yeah, buy some. If you like lager, don't buy some. And remember, beer is working class champagne.